They say don't follow your dreams, chase them. Today, we have this fantastic opportunity of interviewing a man who has not only chased his dreams, but he has been changing his dreams. He has changed geographies, he has changed different fields, and he's moved to different companies. He has worked with companies like Grant Thornton, Ernst and Young, MX, and EXL. And today, we are interviewing him to understand what was his ideology behind creating a career, which is so fascinating to many of us. So with great pleasure, I would like to invite and welcome our guest for today, the Director of Protiviti UK, Mr. Varun Dewan. Hi, Varun. How are you?
Hi, Vyoma. Thank you so much. Thanks for the kind words and the introduction.
Varun, you have a stellar career, but let us, go a little behind in time and see why and how you decided to be a CA to start with.
Yeah, it's a great question. And when I passed out my 10th, we were supposed to make career choices, and you had to choose between sciences and commerce. That was largely what the choice was. Medical, I was not made for medicine. I just can't see that blood and that stuff. The only option was engineering or commerce. And so I started with engineering, attended 2 tuitions for chemistry, and I realized, again, I will flunk big time. So it was really narrowed down into arts and commerce. And then my dad's a chartered accountant. He's in practice for over 45, 46 years now. So he felt that, look, if you're not able to make up your mind, why don't try your hands at CA? So it was like, sometimes when I look back, I think he softly peddled me into it. But obviously the decision was mine that I wanted to be a CA, because back then, there were career choices. Once you enter commerce, were very limited. You do your BCom, and then what do you do? Either you do CA, or you do CS, or you kind of did ICAI. These were the 3 primary courses. So yes, that's how CA happened. So CA is something which is very close to my heart. I think clearing CA exams is at the top. It's such a feeling to have. It's very difficult to express.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you that no matter what you achieve in your life in future, that pink and white screen that says pass means the world.
I think the biggest difference for me was deciding not to pursue articleship under my dad. I walk into my dad's office, I'm his son, everybody around knows me, and I'm an article, but I'm valued more like a partner. I'm hardly learning anything. I realized that that's not going to help me, and dad was very clear, it's not going to help me as well. So he said, why don't you give a shot to getting articleship with one of the big 5s? It was big 5s back then. So yes, the first office I went in was Ernst and Young, and with a plan that I'll start with EY, then I'll hop over to PwC office, then I'll go to KPMG and Anderson. But as luck would have it, I got the offer from EY, and I started my articleship journey. So I moved out of Chandigarh altogether, which is my hometown. I was still doing my college, getting into an articleship with Big Fours in those days. It was 7 rounds of interview. I spent the whole day at EY office. In the evening at 6 p.m. was confirmed that you can start. Those memories are very fresh, Rama.
Okay, that's amazing. After you become a CA, when you have to balance your personal life and your work life, so how do you manage that?
See, again, I think what I have learned in so many years is, if you work very well and work very good, you're rewarded by more work. That's how it works. And those who are not working continue to, kind of be in their comfort zone, right? I don't want to comment in this organization, or it's a pervasive feeling. Any organization you go, there will be some people who are just exceptionally good and some which are not so good, right? And those who are exceptionally good, they are the ones who carry a lot of burden and this responsibility, because most of the time those guys are self-motivated. They will go that extra mile and do that stuff. I think the success lies in your ability to multitask and your time management. If you're able to manage your time and prioritize. I think prioritization is a skill which should be taught formally, because unfortunately most of the times we are governed by what is important to my manager or my senior manager. It is not something which comes from within. Okay, this is important for me, and our ability to distinguish ourselves from our professional selves has to be there. So plan accordingly. I think till the time you are qualified, your focus should be only you. Now things start changing once you're qualified, right? Once you're qualified, after a few years into it, say you are a young assistant manager or a senior consultant now, and you aspire your growth as well, and you have your pressure from family to get married, and all those distractions will come along as well, right? So it's everybody goes through that cycle, and that's where you start looking at what is important to you at that given point in time, right? It is no longer okay, what will happen if I don't get this promotion this year, but I take care of my parents who need me more, right? Or what if I can put my family at a back seat for next 6 months, work extremely hard, get that promotion so that it gives me that level of personal satisfaction, money, whatever you are aspiring for. It's very different for each individual. So having that prioritization from the beginning will drive that focus, So I think that is something which people don't plan that well, or generally look up to others for that guidance. If your manager tells me this is important, I just followed him. Well, that's good, but end of the day, it's your career. You have to take control and work according to it. And then, it changes. Your every phase in career, things will change. At some stage, you will start giving much less important to your personal growth, and rather you will start thinking about organization or the firm where you work for, because you are directly impacted by the overall growth as well. So it all changes. But yes, I think for a young person who's starting now and has qualified, start looking at life outside work, and you have to strike that balance. That's more important.
Absolutely. In today's world, people don't respect people who don't set their own boundaries and don't follow them. After completing your CA, were you very sure what you wanted to do? Did you want to, dive back into your father's practice, or did you want to? You were very sure that you wanted to be in industry or a part of Big Four?
No, I wasn't sure. So I went back again. That charm of joining my dad's practice as a partner was there. But, things had changed. By the time I went back, year and a half now, I'd learned things very differently. My entire grooming as an article was very different than, what was expected. Again, that was one change. And then moving back from Delhi to Chandigarh after 4 years was a bigger cultural change, because friends had moved on. They were like in colleges, so I couldn't relate to anybody. And another funny thing which used to happen now was that when I used to go to a client, right, but with my sense of glory that I'm a qualified chartered accountant, they will come out with an accounting. I will come out with an accounting issue saying this is an issue, please fix it. Invariably, the client would say, okay, we'll talk to your dad and fix it. And then I used to go back to office fuming that client's not listening to me. I would tell my dad that, look, this is a big issue and this needs to be fixed. And he will say, don't worry, I'll talk to the client and fix it. Now, both sides, I was nowhere in the equation. I felt so left out that, I'm saying the right thing. I want to do the right thing. I was too naive and too young to understand the power of relationship. I think dad had spent like 25, 30 years. He's probably incorporated. He was part of the incorporation of those companies, right? He has been associated. So exactly knew in and out what I was talking. Maybe I was not seeing the full picture. And that, but that wisdom came much later on, that you have to nothing handed over to you in plate, right? Even if you are so and so's son, or even if you're a partner in the firm, nothing comes easy, right? You have to earn your space. You have to really prove your worth before people start really taking you seriously and valuing your thing. So when that happened, my initial reaction was, look, I'm not made for this place. Let me just go back to where I was. And that's when I got an offer from KPMG in India to go back to their audit practice. And it was one of the best times of my life in my professional life. 5 years with KPMG. I started as a senior consultant, and in 3 years got promoted to a manager, and then had my stint of secondment to UK back then. That was my first stint. And then to 2008 or towards later part of 2009, I think I started having this itch of not to doing audits. I think I started feeling that I've done stat audits for 7, 8, 9 years now, and kind of not too much, which excites me beyond the point. So that's where within KPMG started working on a lot of advisory kind of engagements, very different engagements. And that was the whole beauty of that firm, that you could do a lot of things and still be part of one team in audit. And audit was my home, but I was given free hand to work on multi engagements.
So what was your experience on in that secondment period? How is the cultural world and the professional world different from what it is in India?
Right. So I'll answer this question in two parts. One is later what I see today and what was back then. In 2008, it was a fascination, more of a young lad from a small town, just wanting to explore the world. And you go out, you see in 6 months, everything felt like a dream come true. It was a developed world, and London, and I was off London, about 70 miles from London. So once you land and once you start the work, it was totally different, from coffee machines, and everything was changed. It was like in India, we had a very different culture. In UK, the biggest shock I had on day one was I went to a client. We were team of three, and our partner was visiting us to start the engagement. And somewhere around midday, the partner gets up and he's going to have his tea, and he's asking each one of us, including an article, what will you like to have? And I was an assistant manager, and I was so shy, I couldn't speak. I said nothing, because as a culture, I would not imagine the partner getting up, asking each one of us. Then he went out, had his glass of water and stuff, and then got everybody the chai and everything, tea, whatever they had asked for in a tray. So that's where you start thinking how much it values to the culture over here is to respect others and treat them at the same level, right? It's not about hierarchy, it's about a teamwork. And those things went a long way in changing how I used to look at teams later on as well. So I think back then everything was new, from automation you saw in cars to stuff like that, which you would not experience in India. So I think that was the first time when I made up my mind that I will definitely plan for longer stints or careers overseas. That's where I think I fell in love with this whole idea of traveling. And then after KPMG, when I joined EXL, I think EXL just opened up a different world for me. I think it was traveling extensively. I was in 6 months, I was in US, then I was traveling every alternate week to London. And every trip I came back as a better individual with much more exposure, which helped me have that conversation. When you work in global teams, when you work in global culture, I think it just opens you up as an individual. You are much more receptive to thoughts, ideas. You are much more tolerant of how others work. So it is like a lot of learning, relearning, unlearning. So all that goes through that process. And when you start your career in first 4 or 5 years, all you are doing is learn more and more technical skills. But it takes some time to understand, well, technical skills are highly overrated, at least in our society or our environment. They are important. But I think what is more important is being a team player, being an individual who can inspire others.
Okay. So I have a very interesting question for you. I have heard so much about your experience at KPMG, and so it says that you worked there for 4 years and 9 months. Why not till the whole 5 years and get gratuity, or better yet, wait for partnership at KPMG?
So I did get gratuity, because I think 4 years and 6 months onwards, if you spend there's a Supreme Court ruling which allows you a gratuity after that. So I did take my gratuity, and that's the only time I got my gratuity, unfortunately. As a manager, obviously you aspire to be partners or directors or senior leaders in any organization, but that was not the only motivation. I think the reason I moved out was I wanted to explore other side. I felt that audit is something I've done. It brings a lot of value to a client in terms of financial statements are relied upon by many stakeholders. It's a lot of respect. All of that is good. But I wanted to actually explore how much I can do or do more in advisory side of things when you're sitting on the other side, when the client is not under a regulatory compliance to give you work or talk to you. It is more like, okay, can you help us with something? And you really make that difference. So I think that was my primary driver. I wanted to learn something else, and I felt that it is the right time for me to move. And I think titles is something which really doesn't make much sense, to me. So I think one needs to learn that very early in life, that look, what is more important, acquiring that skill and playing as a team which you enjoy, which is valued as a sport, which has that amount of respect. Shouldn't matter to people as well, right? At the same time, I'm not no way suggesting that you should not have aspirations, right? I think becoming a partner in itself, or becoming a director, or becoming managing director, or whatever name you call it, I think it's just a beginning of another journey. I think you have to continue to evolve, because I'm yet to see an organization where you are the ultimate boss. That happens only if you're owning that company, right? If you start your own firm, that's fine. But if you are in any kind of an organization, partners will have senior partners will have a board of partners will have other stakeholders to respond to it, and everything changes. titles, your all this thing is very transitionary. It keeps on moving. It's not handed over to you as a legacy to run. It is you run with it for some time and then you pass the baton to someone else. That's how it works, right? So when something is not permanent, why worry too much about it?
True. There are times when I have, tried to switch things in terms of assignments also. And even if I knew things practically, I felt that imposter syndrome, whether I should say this because I don't have any experience. So have you ever felt that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a very natural feeling to have. But again, I think it all boils down to what you really want, right? I think the best thing to curb that is being very truthful to yourself and to your prospective employers, right? If you are doing anything for the right reason and you can articulate that well, I think most of the times people will understand where you're coming from and they are willing to take a bet on you as well. That, okay, this person has not done, say, improvement kind of advisory, has done, say, accounting or reporting compliance-led advisory, but how different can that be, right? At the stage, at every career stage, you are different. Like it's very difficult to make those switches earlier in your life because you're not subject matter expert on any particular thing, right? But as you mature, as you move up the ladder, I think one thing which happens is your other skills take a precedence, and that's your networking skills, that your ability to settle in, your ability to be a team player, your ability to, position the firm or the brand in the right space, in the right way to in front of the clients. All those things become very important. You have to back yourself up and people. And then, like I said, a lot of things is a function of timing and opportunities. Those things are variables. You can't do anything about it. If it happens and then you get that opportunity, I think follow it up with a good action, solid plan. You can't just simply say, oh, for the sake of interviews, that I will do this amount of revenue, I will do this, I will do that. I think better is lay out the cards, lay out on the table very clearly that, look, I'm moving a geography. I know this stuff very well, but yes, I'm low on network or a local network in this market, but I will build on it. To build on that, I will do these 10 things. And then you have those conversations, how the firm, and you'll be surprised how much people are willing to support you for you to be successful. I think the biggest misconception which we carry is that everybody's trying to pull you down. And then be very reasonable. Don't be too harsh on yourself. I think that's another thing which I've observed. At times I become overly critical of my actions and I do reflect, oh, why did I do this? And I think, and then final answer most of the times is just let go, learn to, you've taken decision, it falls in place. COVID had a big impact. People had lost jobs. I'm not disputing that. But again, I think things have, at the same time, you've seen what the amount of growth people have also experienced during the past 2 years, ever since, economy started to open up. It's hard to find good talent. So if you are that person, I don't think so there's any dearth of opportunities.
Absolutely. With that, I would like to ask you if there were, you've been on both sides of the table now. You might have had ample of opportunity of interviewing people and being interviewed. So if you, as an interviewer, were interviewing someone, what were the 3 key skills as a team player you would want to see in, a person you are interviewing?
See, my first and foremost is whenever I'm interviewing someone, is that person applying for a job or investing in his career, his or her career, right? If they see that, okay, working with this team, working with this organization is going to enhance their career in these many ways, absolutely go for that person, rather than somebody who's just read the job description and is trying to oversell, oh, I can do all of this by words. So picking up the word from job description and trying to, wrap it around your career normally doesn't help. Just trying to say the right things at the right time so that you get this job, I think that doesn't help. So being genuine and authentic is very important for me, right? Second most important thing which comes across is how you talk about and how you articulate your entire journey so far. If you believe that, you can't always say that, okay, you've taken one bad decision, that organization didn't work for you, I can understand. But if you've been hopping jobs every 6 to 8 months and 12 months, my concern starts happening is that, are you aware? Are you self-aware? So most of the time people have no plan and they are not self-aware. I think taking someone who's not self-aware, now you, as an leader, it will take double the toll. One, I'll have to teach that person the skills and all that stuff, which I'll do for anyone, any which ways, right? End of the day, it is something which within you have to fix, right? Unless you are motivated enough to find that, you will not fix it, right? I've always experienced that people who are self-aware, self-motivated, they go a long way and they will be a big support. Because If someone's not a team player, but is self-aware, that person will work towards being a self-aware rather than someone who's not a team player, is not even aware and is always rubbing shoulders with each other. That person will be more of a disruption, even if the person's the best of the technical skills and can do wonders, has the potential. And third is, I think what I've started seeing off late is, people would come with a very unreasonable salary expectations, right? And there's nothing wrong with that if you think that you can get it, right? But end of the day, please be appreciative and respectful when you're quoting a number. You are getting an X amount, asking 20, 30, whatever in the market norm is fine. Suddenly you want 2X, 3X just because you believe others are getting it. And then you fall for the trap. What is happening is you may end up missing a lot of good opportunities of learning and growth just because you're not getting that number. So if someone's too driven by a number, you are just coming across as a greedy person, again, not willing to invest in your career. So I'm sure that friends are making that amount of money and that may be a pressure or stuff. But if that's not the organization which can offer you, just don't go there, because end of the day, you will leave with a very bad impression, and that travels, right? People are doing all sorts of things. They will accept an offer, make the organization work, then not show up. Again, it's not professional. They will do a lot of things. So I think all these 2-3 things I think are very important for me, at least when I interview someone. I want to be very transparent about it. I want people to be equally transparent about their careers, because end of the day, you're not getting kids to work. They're all adults. They should be responsible enough for their actions.
Okay. Lastly, I would like to ask you that after having a corporate life of over a decade, close to 2 decades now,
yeah.
How do you see your upcoming years? What do you think is your plan for your future?
I've not given that much of a thought, but I think one thing which I'm very clear is at some stage I'll need to start having more acceptability, because I think this whole linear curve of growth doesn't continue forever, right? There's a time where you start feeling, okay, I have to start now focusing on other things which matter outside work, outside everything else. So you start to take that, you have to accept that as well, that you are growing and you're aging as well. So there is limitation you can put to your body. You can't work 20 hours with that, but you can take 10x more stress which you used to take earlier. So I think everything has its own timing as well. So I have to get into that acceptability. But I think over next few years, I think I'm very focused on being in this market, being in UK, making this practice grow. And I do believe that early signs in UK market are very promising for me. I think this firm is great. I think I've always loved the culture of Protiviti, whether it was India, Saudi, or now over here. So I think that's the plan. I still want to focus very much on consulting, building this practice until my next adventure shows up. I have not figured out what it's going to be, but foreseeable future, it's advisory for me.
Yeah, I hope your edge takes you to fabulous places and your career progresses the way you have planned it, or the unplanned journey that you want to, dive on. Thank you for sharing so many insightful things.
Thank you so much, Roma. I think it's been a pleasure.